Juicy, yo. Finna get fruity, yo.
Finna get fruity?
Some movie, yo.
You said finna get fruity?
All of that. Yeah, I said all that. Thanksgiving. Yeah, I need all that. Thanksgiving. Yeah, I need all the crack. Give me a plate. Give me the mac. Give me the cheese. I need that splat. Hey, drop it back. Hey. Hope you got a good back. Hey.
Yeah.
Hope you got a back. Yeah. Cause it's flawless. It's got to get lawless. Oh, I hear a sample in this. Okay, I'm finna turn this off.
Welcome back, everybody. You tapped in the gym with Juice. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys share. Make sure you guys are in the chat and let us know how y'all are feeling. Okay, we talked about Summer Walker earlier and her embarrassing leaked audio that came out of her wanting to be Miss Pizza Hut. But right now, we are about to get into Benjamin's
Rabbithole. Really quick before we go down my rabbit hole, I got a question. Do you think that when it comes to Summer Walker putting herself out there like that, is it embarrassing for all black women?
No.
Okay. Some people would, say that Summer Walker is that prominent figure in black culture right now and speaks for a lot of black women who feel some type of way. So some people would actually look up to her and be like, oh, that is the typical black lady right there.
I mean, they probably will, but I mean, they've been doing that before Summer Walker said anything. So,
okay.
As if people think that white women don't also be side chicks.
Right.
Willingly.
Because hoes going to be hoes, That's what I say. But I think it's time for us to go down the rabbit hole. Okay, Juicy Jammers, if you don't know what a rabbit hole is, it is a piece of information you find on the internet or experience in real life that takes you from one piece of information you find to another up until your curiosity is satisfied. And today, Juicy Jammers, for November 24th, 2025.
Ooh.
My rabbit hole question, why do the most insane people come from the great state of Wisconsin? I should actually probably say, why do the most shocking killers come from the great state of Wisconsin? All right, and when I say insane, I mean demented. Very low vibrational people that I would never, ever, ever, ever want to be around. All right, this whole rabbit hole of mine started off at the sight and hearing and seeing that the Slender Man killer escaped from a Wisconsin group home.
Well, she's not a killer.
Okay, well, she's not a killer, but she's attempted murderer, okay? She attempted, okay? So the Slender Man attempted murderer escaped from a Wisconsin group home where she was serving the rest of her sentence at. All right, now, when this happened, I said, damn, there's a real killer out here on the loose. Now, Morgan Geyser has been captured, if you guys don't know yet, but during her time on the run, I got scared. I even had a nightmare. I really did have a nightmare. I had a nightmare that I was being chased by Slender Man, and Slender Man was trying to get me, all right? I even had a nightmare, okay? But knowing that this girl comes from Wisconsin, was out and about, and no one knew about her whereabouts, it made me think, because I know that the Slender Man demon was never found to be a real thing. Everybody said it was just on the internet. But I thought to myself, if the Slender Man internet demon was ever real, I would have no choice but to assume that the Slender Man demon possessed Morgan Geyser's body at some point and took over. All right? And that's why, in my mind, she will forever be named as the Slender Man killer in real life. Okay?
She's not the killer. We have to make sure we say that.
Whatever. And then, why the hell? I mean, she's notoriously known as the Slender Man killer. That's what that's what the tabloids say.
Yeah, but
right? She didn't murder anybody,
lawyers,
but she tried.
So
she tried. All right, we'll talk to that lawyer if it ever comes up.
No. Because I will throw you under the bus and be out walking my merry way. I'm like, he's over here, Tony Cotton.
Tony, man, holla at your boy. Okay, holla at your boy, man. Okay. Anyway, but it made me think to myself, this Slender Man attempted murderer.
Thank you.
Okay, in real life, all right.
Slender Man stabber.
Slender Man stabber.
Say that.
Okay, well, I'll call it a Slender Man stabber. The Slender Man stabber. Okay, and then why the hell she got to be from Wisconsin made me think, white people, is this what y'all do? Is this what white people do? Okay, but then I thought that was too much of a generalization, all right, because I got some good white friends who would never think about murdering anybody, okay? But it made me wonder to myself, what if each killer that is notoriously from the great state of Wisconsin, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein, and even the Slender Man stabber, Morgan Geyser, Ed Gein, what do they all have in common? So I started to do my Googles. I started to do my research. And I thought about this, all right? Okay, Ed Gein, if you guys don't know, the man who comes from Plattsville, Wisconsin, also known as the Skinwalker, all right, who also went on to go influence a lot of horror culture movies from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, and even Silence of the Lambs, all right? This person would actually rob graves of dead people, all right? He would rob graves of dead people and use their skin for furniture, all right? Like lamps. He made desks out of them. He made chairs out of them, and even a face mask. They even made a whole movie about this gentleman on Netflix, and I watched this over my time, all right, especially during, Halloween. I was watching it, and I will tell you it was one of the most twisted, demented horror films / documentaries I've ever seen, all right? However, you will find out that in this movie, Ed Gein had a deep infatuation with his German heritage, especially during World War II for the Nazis, and romanticized what they did in the Holocaust, all right? Jeffrey Dahmer, the infamous cannibal, right here homegrown in the city of Milwaukee, all right, infamously ate his victims, all right? His father was actually a German, all right? And even Morgan Geyser, the Slender Man stabber, she has German roots as well. So I went further down my rabbit hole, and I was like, damn, okay, they all got this German heritage. What's going on in the great state of Wisconsin? Then we got all these Germans running around with these sick ideas. All right, and I had to go to my good friend ChatGPT. All right, I went to AI and I asked AI a few things. I asked AI, what makes Wisconsin a hub for these types of killers, all right? These types of people who want to do these demented ideas.
And Chat had an answer, didn't they?
Chat had an answer. It wanted them to go say that rural areas where nobody checks on anybody tends to be a prime location, like in this case of Ed Gein, all right? A person who lives out there on a farm in a rural area, rural community. Nobody's really going out there to check on Ed Gein. This could lead Ed Gein to make up his own reality in which he did so. And he was also schizophrenic, all right? Also goes on to say, we typically have long winters in Wisconsin where people stay indoors. Again, nobody's checking on anybody, especially here. Look, in the black community, soon as, the snow hits and it gets a little colder here, you ain't letting no damn heat out my house, all right? I ain't finna pay I don't got electric money. I don't have heat money. I don't got gas money to be paying to heat up all the outside. That is for me and my people's inside of here, all right? And they also go on to say, or Chat went on to go say that there's lots of mental health issues that go untreated. Just as in the case of Ed Gein, just as the case of this Morgan Geyser lady, and even I guess in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, there goes to be a lot of mental health issues that go on. And it says because of the psychological isolation, a factor crime researchers actually study, criminologists point out that Ed Gein lived in total isolation, all right? He created his own reality. They also go on to say a snowbound psychosis, which I never even thought about before. I never even put those two words together before. A snowbound psychosis, a real thing because of the long winters, and it intensifies mental health problems. All right? So I say all this to say, and I forgot, Ed Gein did make nipple belts, okay? That's very crazy. That's very crazy. But I said all this to say, Juicy Jammers, at the end of the day, going down my rabbit hole, it made me think. I want to pray for all of my brethrens out there, white, black, anybody out there with German heritage. Because if you have German heritage, in the great state of Wisconsin, was also known notoriously for being the biggest drunks in the world, all right, can outdrink other countries. Couple that with the Wisconsin winter, you may just have a serial killer on your hands. But that was the end of my rabbit hole, Juicy Jammers. Call in, text in, or actually just hit the chat. Let me know how you feel. Why do you think Wisconsin creates all of the worst serial killers and or stabbers?
I don't have an answer for that.
It was very interesting to me, man, when I started going down this, bro, because I was like, dog, at first, when you start to even go down the ethos of what a murderer is or what a killer is, you typically think about all the infamous ones, and I never realized how many just came from Wisconsin until I started doing my digging. Like I said, after that girl had got released, not released, but she got on the run, escaped. Like I said, I was really scared. I'm like, damn, like what if she really is demented and possessed by this Slender Man guy? Mm-hmm. She goes around trying to stab people. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what is all the connection? And to find out that they all have German heritage behind them, I mean, personally, when I know the history of Wisconsin and the German influence here, it wasn't too surprising or alarming. Like the fact that we even drink as much as we do is because all the beer places that we've had here in the past. It's like, damn, like you really gotta watch where you moving at, man. You gotta know something about this state, or else you may get taken out by it.
By like somebody that's crazy, huh?
By somebody that's crazy, somebody who's influenced by all of these things. You know, somebody who believes these things to be cool. Because, like, even in the case of Morgan Geyser, they go to say that her father, he actually believed in a lot of Gothic rituals or whatever, and that's what he would do.
Her mom, who?
Her dad.
Oh, the Morgan person?
Yeah, her dad. So I'm like,
so
bro,
she was exposed to like a lot of weird things,
a lot of dark energies early on in her life. You know, which made me be like, you know, and I don't know why this seems to be a common theme amongst like people who are like serial killers or whatever, but typically their house stinks. You know, and I just know for a fact.
You been in a house like that?
Bro, I haven't, but anytime you look at one of their documentaries or whatever, the director always makes certain that you know that their house smelled ratchet of something. Like the Jeffrey Dahmer on Netflix, right? When you walk into his house, like the first thing the black dude says, like, "Ugh, what's that smell?" Like that's the first thing. That's the first thing he says. Or if you watch the Ed Gein documentary on Netflix, like, a lot of people, even the girl he was trying to get at the time, she walks in and she was like, "Eddie, what's going on in here? What's that smell?" And he was like, "Oh, just garbage. You know, I need a lady around here to clean up for me. I don't have a woman." You know, so I don't know, man. That seems to be another commonality amongst these murderers out here.
That's just disgustingly nasty. But it does make me wonder, like, are you safer in a city versus being out there on like farmland far away from everybody?
I would say I would think
because I'm a city girl. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a city girl. I don't see myself ever living in like a rural area, you know, all out in the woods and stuff like that. Maybe one day, I don't know. But I don't see it right now because I like being in the city. I like being close to certain things. But a lot of horrific stories do happen when you have a lot of just land and nobody's really around to hear you cry,
hear you
scream, none of that type of stuff. So it makes me want to just stay in the city a little bit more. But the city got its own issues, honestly.
It's true. I mean, but you know, I think I'm cool. I'm better in the city. You know, I think I'm a little bit more safer in the city. And I'm just saying in the state of Wisconsin.
You live in Racine.
Yeah, but it's still a city. It may not be as big as Milwaukee, but it's still, I live in a city where I can get to a hospital in like 10 minutes. Okay, if I'm staying out in the countryside or whatever, you know, I'm pretty much, especially if I get hurt or something like that, I'm at the perils of whatever, you know, the terrain or the ambulance got to go through just to come and get me. And that's still going to take more time for them to come get me than to get me into the city where there is some kind of hospital. Because, you know, I always used to feel some type of way where other states would be like, "Oh, what's up in Wisconsin? Ain't nothing but farmland up there." And I used to be like, "Hell no, y'all are tripping. Like, there's way more things up in Wisconsin than just farmland."
Yeah, killers.
It's true. But as soon as you go more north than like Milwaukee, it really is nothing but farmland. Like, I mean, and even in somewhere like Racine and Kenosha, like you get off on like the highways or whatever, it's a lot of farmland out here, man. Like somebody really could go missing inside of a barn, and you would never know. You know, somebody could have a bunker somewhere on one of those in one of those fields or whatever, you would really never know.
That's why you got to be real careful of like who you are attaching yourself to, and like who are your friends and who is inviting you to certain places out there in other sides of town. You know, like, because why are you going over there to what's that one of my bosses actually moved over there. It's somewhere in Wisconsin, really far. But I'm just like, I just don't see myself even going there. You know, like I just don't see myself even wanting to put myself in a situation like that where I'm only around, you know, farmland and I don't know the area very well. Not by myself, at least. That's where all the crazy stories are from. You know, so you just got to be careful. You just got to be safe. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, Josh Jammin said, he's like, look, I think it's the environment and also the lack of exposure in these cities. It's nobody that lives there that's when this function begins. And I agree with that. That's basically what Chad told me though. You know, is the fact that like if you live in somewhere out in the rural community of Wisconsin and ain't nobody around you for like the next 5 miles or whatever, you really start to develop your own reality. You may even start to talk to yourself. And just like in Ed Gein's case, you know, if you're already a person who does suffer from some kind of mental illness, who's to say when your mental illness does get diagnosed because nobody's even around you to let you know, like, bro, you got dementia. You know, bro, you're schizophrenic. Bro, this is what's happening to you. So those types of things happen, you know. And then even in the case of even this young girl, Morgan Geyser, obviously she was living in the city. However, her world, her environment was already tainted. It was already demented. To some degree, she probably felt like it was cool to think that Slender Man was a real thing.
Yeah, that and not to me. That was just weird and that was just crazy. But you got to be careful out here in these Wisconsin streets because there's always something going on. Just be aware, I would say, of where you're going, why you're going there, who you're going with. I would say share your location with your family and friends all the time so they at least know where you're at. So if they can't reach you, they can see where the last place you were, because it's crazy out here. You truly never know what's gonna go down. So that's what I'll say about that. But it is wild that a lot of the killers and just crazy people are from Wisconsin. It's like, what's in the water here in Wisconsin to make y'all be so crazy?
I'm not gonna lie.
Are they just Geminis?
I don't believe they had that in connection. All right, Ed Gein and
Can I not trust
Dahmer.
Geminis?
Hey, you know what they say? Geminis aren't the most notorious killers, though. It's a whole nother one. I think it's actually Virgos who typically be the killers.
Mom?
She's a Virgo?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
My mom was a Virgo.
You just really never know.
All right, you guys, that was been Jammin's
Rabbithole.
When we come back, you guys, we are going to wrap up the show with a bow and give you our drop of juice for this lovely Monday morning. So make sure you guys keep it locked. We got one more segment here. So don't go nowhere. It's Jammin' with Juice.
Juicy Jammin' Show.